My name is Jessica Fu. I work in data management at Red Bull. And right now, my husband and I, Mike, we lead Four Corners, which is our international ministry at UCLA. I have two kids. One is Kayla. She just turned 5, and Carissa, who just turned 2. Being a mom, the picture of doing ministry as a mom has actually been really interesting. It's been neat to involve my kids in the rhythms and needs of just ministry and life. And I think maybe one picture was there was one night when all our sisters were not free to do food prep, and it was no problem because I just pulled my 2 kids in. And not only did they get to learn how to do hard work, but it was actually pretty fun to do it together. And then Kayla got to see the fruit of her labor as all the aunties and uncles were eating it at Bible study the following night. And I don't know, I guess a vintage picture for me, especially because Kayla gets to join our Friday Bible studies now. One picture was, there was one night when Mike was announcing that we had free Case for Christmas books. And as he was encouraging people to take one and telling them what the content was, Kayla, of her own accord, just got up and started handing them out to whoever would take them. And I think that's really neat to me that she gets to do this with us, that we get to share our heart for our students together, have fun together in that way, and also just the fact that, I don't know, that she gets to be around so many people, thinking about people other than herself, being around a lot of people who love and care for her. I feel like what other environment could she be a part of that she would experience something like this? When did I realize that I wanted to be engaged in ministry? Well, I think I've heard a lot of people at our church say, like, I was around a campfire and I caught the vision, or I was at this retreat, or I was at this senior outreach event and this mission trip. And it always was this kind of really moving and heart-stirring moment that they've all of a sudden felt passionate, and this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I don't think I ever actually had that moment. Honestly, I felt a little anxious every time I heard that, because I thought, when will I feel that in my own heart? When will I ever experience that and feel like this is what I want to do for the rest of my life? And when I look back, now that I've been out of college for about 17 years now, I think it's mainly been just over the years, just saying yes to God in many different ways, that I've experienced just a deepening sense of joy and settledness in my embracing of my role as a minister. And I think that's how it kind of came to me. So I actually grew up in Indonesia. I went to church my whole life, but I became a Christian my freshman year in college at Harvard. And then after I graduated, I worked there for a year. And then in 2006, I moved over to the Bay Area, which is when I joined our church. Starting to be involved in ministry didn't take a very, usual route. I don't know. When I first joined our church, I had actually originally decided I was thinking about just being a Sunday Christian. And a part of it was, I didn't feel like I was ready to do more. But I just couldn't deny the fact that God had a claim on my life, so I was gonna go to church. But after a couple months after I had moved here, and I'd already resolved that this was gonna be my life, one of my peers actually, she texted out, she needed help. She needed someone to take her spot to drive these 3 girls home from our Impact ministry after the Sunday program. And Impact is our ministry to Oakland inner city kids. And at that time, I actually already had plans to go shopping. So technically I was busy, but I couldn't really say that. And my conscience kind of got the better of me, and I didn't really want to be known as the girl who wanted to go shopping and so didn't help drive girls home from their Sunday school program. So I said yes, and actually, as it turns out, saying yes turned out to be God's mercy on me, as taking those 3 girls home each week just grew my heart for these girls and people other than myself, mainly because I think for myself, I just felt like, given my track record and given just the person that I knew who I was and my character, I didn't deserve that. And it was, I saw these precious girls and what they had gone through in life. And I thought, wow, man, God would want to involve me in that kind of ministry and care to these girls. As two of them, their father was in jail. And one of them, I could only surmise what sort of job she had as her daughter would tell me how she dressed and how she took all these men home from work. And I just thought, man, why would God want me to be a minister? And yet he did. And after all those years of serving, my heart just grew, and it just began a couple years of serving in our children's ministry as I wanted to grow and learn and care for more people and share the gospel with more children. Another time that I was able to really grow as a minister was probably after these years of serving in children's ministry. I just asked my children's ministry mentor, what do you think the next steps would be? Because I really want to grow. And she said, I'll get back to you. And in about a week, she said, I was asking around what opportunities there are, and I was wondering if you'd like to join college ministry. And I did, but I also didn't want to. I didn't really have a heart for college students back at that time. And I also just didn't feel like I was able to do something like that. But I also really had a heart for just following God's prompting in my life. And I felt like that was one of those moments. So in the end, I said yes. So doing college ministry and getting married ended up just, I think, revealing how bad at life I was. I was pretty incompetent. I felt pretty discouraged that I didn't really have many students responding to me. It was revealed that I couldn't cook. I couldn't do things around the house. I wasn't very good at organizing things, and I just wasn't able to keep on top of my life, just basic life. And so I was very discouraged, and I began to even just question, am I supposed to be doing ministry? Much less college ministry. I just didn't feel like I was cut out to be a minister and care for other people if I couldn't even care for myself. And ironically, when I was at my lowest point and I wanted to give up, that's when Mike and I got asked if we wanted to be a part of our UCLA college church plant. We said yes, mainly because Mike really had a heart for LA, and for me, it was just simply, I wanted to say yes to God, and I felt like I trusted God that he knew exactly what it is that I needed at that time. So yeah, we said yes. Yeah, I think just putting that yes on the table, I feel like God took that small seed of trust and he was able to really grow that. And I think LA was just about experiencing how God wanted to grow me through a lot of small yeses, saying yes to leading a junior life group, leading a post-grad life group, becoming SoCal historian, leading a SoCal JCC, doing Inner High, leading a Inner High retreat with Mike. Just saying yes along the way, I think actually grew me a lot more than I originally expected or imagined. And in fact, I think one of my most fondest memories in SoCal is when I said yes to leading SoCal JCC. And it's like a Christmas pageant. It stands for Joyland Christmas Celebration. It's our children's ministry Christmas pageant. Because of my ministry responsibilities and all that I was doing, I actually felt like I couldn't do it. But I trusted that God would lead me and give me the strength to be able to do it. So I said yes. And I am so thankful that I did. Definitely one of my highlights of my years in SoCal. I got to be a part of leading over 100 volunteers to put on this Christmas pageant as our kids in SoCal got to preach the gospel to their families. And it was actually a lot of fun, hard work, but so much fun. Well, life in ministry in the city of LA can be pretty tough, physically demanding. You know, on top of the traffic, there's the billboards, the lavish lifestyle that you see all around you, the superficiality of LA, Santa Monica. It can wear you down a bit. And then on top of that, just being a mom, I think is pretty tough. I remember when Mike and I were asked to lead A2F USC, I was about 7 months pregnant at that time. And at around 8, 9 months pregnant, it was hard to drive all the way from Santa Monica to USC each day. So I would actually walk from work to the metro. At the end of work, I would walk to the metro station, take the metro over to USC, and then walk to wherever I needed to go at USC. And all in all, it took about an hour. It was about an hour on my feet. And on those days, I would actually wear my most pregnant looking outfits to try and get people to get up from their chairs on the metro to give me a seat, which often wouldn't happen actually. And my coworker once confessed to me that she would pretend to sleep when she saw people like that on the train. So it was pretty physically demanding. And then after I gave birth, when Kayla was 1 month, I would just take her to campus, twice in an afternoon to meet up with students. And that's actually when I figured out that USC doesn't have changing tables in their public bathrooms. Yes, it was kind of tough, but and I remember one day I was meeting with a student in one of the restaurant areas. And these 2 college kids behind me, they were laughing hysterically as they were shaking up their soda bottles and getting them to explode. And the moment I was feeding Kayla, she's 1 month old, and the moment I saw Dr. Pepper just splatter across her face and then watch her face flinch, I just felt inside of me this lioness mother come out, and I was really ready to give these college boys a piece of my mind. It didn't stop me. I still kept bringing Kayla to campus after that. Yeah, and then I guess when I had Carissa, after she was 1 month, I also took her to campus. That was when I was back at UCLA and I was leading Four Corners International Ministry there. I just drive her over and park her stroller right next to my table as I taught Course 101. And I think about that time I was teaching about five Course 101s and leading a mentorship group of about 5 students, as well as leading just Four Corners with my husband of about 16 postgrads. So it was physically demanding. I was thankful that I was on maternity leave so that I could do this. But overall, I don't know, I just felt this sense of privilege to be able to be a part of international ministry. No one became Christian at that time. Actually, COVID happened right after that, so we lost touch with a lot of our students. But I find international ministry just to be such a privilege because even if I get to be a part of just changing their mind a little bit towards Christianity or towards God, or being involved in that really small change of the dial in their paradigm shift, I feel like that's such an awesome thing. And I just feel like, wow, if that change in their mind could have this huge ripple effect down the road as they bring the gospel and the truth back to their home countries, I want to be a part of that. So yeah, that's why I love doing international ministry.
If there were younger ones at our church who might say, I can't live like that, I can't be like my leader, what would you say to them?
Oh yeah. If I had to tell some younger ones who felt like that, I would say I felt exactly like you. When I was younger, I used to look at my leaders and be so glad that I wasn't them. I used to be glad that they didn't go to all the meetings that they had to go to. I actually would pretend to be planning and thinking at our meetings when secretly inside I was so glad. I was just waiting till they told us what they decided, and I would just take whatever they decided. But yeah, I just overall felt like I can't do that. Like all that they do on top of leading a ministry group, on top of ministering to people, and then caring for their families. I guess it felt unattainable and it felt pretty impossible for someone like me. But I think over the years, the way that I've experienced things, as I said yes to things, even as I didn't feel it, I felt God grow me. And so looking back, I see if I had held on to just and focused on all my fears and all my anxieties, I think it would have become a self-fulfilling prophecy where I would actually stay pretty small in my view and my capacity. But because I got to say yes, because I got to just be a part of so much that was beyond me, and I got to just, experience all these things, I actually did feel that God grew me and grew my capacity beyond what I could have imagined. So I would encourage people to just not focus on what you could lose or your limits, but focus on just trusting God and just being able to say, I surrender. Whatever it is, the way that you want to lead me, God, I surrender. And it's something that I try to hold on to as I look to my future, not just holding on to what I fear I could lose or what I fear that I lack, but just trusting that in who God is a God who is zealous and who wants to save the lost.